Madam Speaker, I rise today to speak out against the daily atrocities in Syria. Few would have predicted that 8 years ago, peaceful protests would turn into violent conflict that's left more than 500,000 men, women, and children dead. Millions more displaced, and the entire region feeling like a lit fuse ready to explode into further conflict. Shortly after coming to Congress, I met Muaz Mustafa, a young Syrian American from Arkansas, who's been a leading Syria pro-democracy group here in Washington, called the Syrian Emergency Task Force. After meeting Muaz, I studied his efforts and learned more about the horrific events happening in Syria over the past few years. Muaz led me through the Caesar file photos in a special exhibit at Washington's Holocaust Museum. And earlier this year, he introduced me to Omar al-Shagor, who was arrested as a teenager and survived the torture, starvation, and other brutalities in Assad's prisons for more than 3 years. Seeing those photos and hearing Omar's personal testimony were powerful experiences. I believe that what's happening in Syria today is a modern-day Holocaust, and our obligation to end Assad's reign of terror is something that all Americans must confront. I'm grateful for the New York Times and their recent extensive front-page story in its last Sunday newspaper going inside Assad's torture prisons. And I ask Madam Speaker for unanimous consent that this article be attached for the record.
Without objection, so ordered.
It's in the experiences shared by former prisoners like Omar that remind us of the likes of Hitler, Mao, Stalin. Bashar al-Assad can add his name to this list of barbarous thugs who rule with evil, torture, and mass murder. We have known about these atrocities for years, but we only express outrage, twiddle our thumbs as these modern-day Hitlers annihilate the civilian population in Syria. I commend Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell for passing Senate Bill 1, the Strengthening America's Security in the Middle East Act. Last week, many of us, including myself, signed the discharge petition for the companion legislation here in the House to Senate Bill 1, H.R. 336, sponsored by Mike McCall of Texas. This legislation includes the Caesar Syria Civilian Protection Act, which has a critical provisions to hold Assad accountable for his atrocities. As Speaker Pelosi well knows, this House, under Republican leadership, has passed this Caesar bill 3 times over the last 3 Congresses, only to have it bogged down in the Senate. Now, Leader McConnell has acted, and we in the House must now act with expedition and pass H.R. 336 to end this step back into darkness, to stop the torture and the murder of thousands, and move to convict Assad and his henchmen for war crimes. Thank you, Madam Speaker, and I yield back the balance of my time.